Gorgeous. Thank you and good morning, everyone. That you just heard Bienvenido Yangco play a prelude called Only Heavenly Music, and I'd agree with that title, by Carl Jenkins, arranged by Dimitri Valeros. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to January 9th service, and all of you who are in attendance and all of you who are watching at home, we say welcome to you and Happy New Year. I want to introduce our musicians today. They are Terry O'Hara on piano. Anjali Silva is our guest vocalist. On platform with me is Suzanne Fraser Brown. She's our practitioner. And then a little later, you're going to hear from Reverend Matthew, a beautiful meditation. So we're going to start with an opening prayer and followed by a meditation, and then our gorgeous opening song, There's So Much Magnificence.
So if you choose to close your eyes with me and just feel the seat that you're sitting in, the chair. It's such a lovely metaphor for God. You sit in it without any fear. You feel supported. You feel the earth under your feet. You're comfortable. And you know that you're safe right there in that spot. And that is I think, a very important thing for us to feel right now. There's so much going on in the world. There's so much tumult, so much uncertainty. So many people are in distress over a varied list of things. But right here at the Center for Spiritual Living, all is well. We are okay. We're not just okay, we're doing very well. Because we come in that door on Sunday morning knowing that Spirit exists right here. Spirit exists for each one of us, individually, but most importantly, collectively. throughout the world, people gather on Sundays, well, and Saturdays too, for all kinds of worship. And I'm reluctant to call it worship in this setting. What it is here is just a knowing, a deep knowing that God exists in each one of us. And it's a gift that we can give each other, is that knowing. One of the beautiful things about Science of Mind, Religious Science, Center for Spiritual Livings all over the country, is that we have the opportunity to know the truth about each one of us. That if somebody has an issue or a difficulty or a victory, a celebration, we can go to another person and they'll get that, how we know the truth about that person. That there's this place within us that truly is where spirit dwells and where we manifest it in our speech, in our actions, in our behavior. And that we heal each other. We have that great capacity to heal one another because we know that truth. And on this beautiful morning, even though we have barriers around the church and orange tape, many obstructions from the outside to get inside, we know that it's all good. And that we come here for that solace. We come here for that gift of truth. And so I'm just very, very grateful, and I say thank you, God, and so it is.
Good morning. I'd like to invite you to meditation with me this morning, followed by that beautiful prayer. Thank you, Suzanne. Let's just allow ourselves to move into that place within us, that quiet, still, and grounded place. I invite you to pay attention to your breath. It's that beautiful and constant rhythm. And allow that breath. Let's allow that this morning to move us to that still, quiet place. Just being present, experiencing the quiet. This morning on the way down, I was on the 5 and I looked up and there was Mount Rainier. Just absolutely stunning. And that was one of those beautiful moments where I felt like I was put back into alignment. A reminder that there is peace and order and calm right here, right now. And this morning, in this beautiful quiet, I invite you to allow your peace, your calm, your order, your healing and your stability to find you. And to awaken within you. These attributes of spirit belong to us as well, each one of us. And so this morning I invite you to allow those things to pour into you and to reside within you, to resonate, and to move you into an alignment with the scientific and spiritual truth of the entire universe. That in the midst of any and all chaos, there is order. Things are changing. Things are moving. There is order being sought and found in everything. So let's just sit with this for a moment and breathe it in. And let's know together that the breath that we take is the breath of Source. It's the cosmic breath of everything that exists. And so as you allow your peace to flow into you, your calm, your order, you are grounded, you are safe, you are confident, and you are assured of your good right here and right now. So let's take this experience into our heart space now and bring it back to this room and share it with each other and with everybody that we come in contact with. Opening our eyes and taking a deep breath, ready to embrace that which is ready to unfold for us today and going forward. May you be well, may you be grounded, may you be healthy, prosperous, and at peace.
reminds me of Carol Ferrer's memorial service. We sang that song because we used a metaphor of a mermaid for her life, and that seemed like such a wonderful song. I love that song. That was taught to me by my daughter, who's a musician minister. So anyway, thank you for the beautiful rendition of that song. So there's a few announcements. One is next Saturday, Beverly Holland and I are doing a day-long workshop on Zoom. You can register for it online. It's called The Game of Life. And so we'll be addressing 4 quadrants in the game, that of abundance, relationships, creative expression, and health. So I think you'll enjoy it. It's based on the work of Florence Scovel Shen, who lived in New York, and I think she came in connection, I believe there's documentation, with Emma Curtis Hopkins. That's where she learned her metaphysics. Although that was kind of the time when she lived, when metaphysics had sort of blossomed everywhere, including Ernest Holmes' writings. So anyway, I think you'd enjoy it. We've reduced the price because we're not serving lunch. We're going to do this in person. We're going to do it on Zoom. There's singing, there's exercises. We'll be engaging in a lot of dialogue in different rooms. Bev knows the technology of how to put you in those rooms for discussion and dialogue. And I think you'll end up leaving the retreat with your own game plan for 2022. So I invite you to register for that retreat workshop, which is coming up on Saturday. We have made some adjustments in the calendar. Also, this afternoon at 2 o'clock is a practitioner meeting, and we do that on Zoom as well. We had thought we would do a leadership gathering of the Leadership Council, which is made up of our practitioners and board, but we have moved that up to the last Saturday in January. And then our annual membership meeting, which was going to be the last Sunday of the month, has been moved to the last Sunday in February. So watch for more information to come out on that. I finally said, with all the snow and everything that's interrupted, and COVID and everything else that's interrupted everything, why are we doing this to ourselves, trying to drive ourselves to get to a deadline? Who does the scheduling? Who is it that does this to ourselves? So anyway, the board agreed. So we changed everything and gave ourselves a little breathing space. I don't know about you, but it's been stressful, all of this going on. Not only Omicron, but the snow is stressful when you can't get out and about. And this was the first time for me that I've experienced being shut down and in quarantine because Mario acquired the new version, the heavy cold, on his birthday, which is New Year's Eve. So anyway, he's testing negative now, but it's hard to quarantine a whole household and isolate yourselves in different parts of the house. So it was an interesting experience for me. As you can see by the cover of our program, our theme this month is Everyday Wonder. And so we're going to be talking about the awesome power of prayer just a little bit later. So I want to introduce Anjali again to give us a wonderful song by Karen Drucker called One Breath at a Time.
one breath at a time, one breath at a time. That's where grace comes in, one breath at a time, one breath at a time, one breath at a time. That's where grace comes in, one breath at a time. You can sing with me if you want. One breath at a time, one breath at a time. That's where grace comes in, one breath at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. That's where peace comes in. That's where peace comes in, one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. That's where peace comes in, one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. That's where peace comes in, one step at a time. One breath at a time, one breath at a time. That's where grace comes in, one breath at a time, one breath, one breath, one breath at a time, one breath, one step, one breath at a time.
Beautiful. Thank you. Oh,
Karen Drucker,
Yes.
wonderful, wonderful composer.
she was here like 2 years ago in November, and it was just a fabulous opportunity to feel her energy and love through her music. And she gives it freely to our movement. Although she's Jewish, she's one of us still. She belongs to metaphysical, either unity, I think it's religious science. So this month is all about wonder and awe, and you might ask, well, why is awe so important? Why is that? A man named Dr. Keltner, who is in charge of a research study at the University of California, Berkeley, says there are evolutionary reasons. It's good for our minds, our bodies, and our social connections. Awe is that feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends our understanding of the world. And early in human history, awe was reserved for feelings toward divine beings. In 1757, Edmund Burke, who was an Irish philosopher, detailed how we can feel awe not just during religious rites, but in everyday perceptual experiences. Like Matthew described driving here, seeing Mount Rainier in full bloom, or hearing thunder, something simple as that, or being moved by music, the music we hear here on Sundays. We can actually find awe everywhere in our everyday lives. I always think about one of the most awesome experiences I had as a child. I was in Dallas, Texas, and I had gone over to a neighbor's house, and a huge thunderstorm came up, fierce, with lightning. And I'd always been warned not to walk in an open space when there was lightning around. And so I got very close to the houses. I was about 7 or 8 houses away from my own home. And I would make my way up. There were bricks behind me of the houses. I was going through bushes. But I looked to the sky, and as the thunders crashed, there was this fine pattern, you know, like a root system of electric blue lightning. I've never seen it ever again. Maybe you've seen electric blue lightning. Usually it's kind of white, but this was electric blue lightning. And it was so magical. I'll never forget my feeling of awe that was sort of mixed in with fear. And I felt so small and vulnerable with this storm overhead. But of course I made it home. And yet I was enveloped in the immense beauty of this experience. So UC Berkeley is studying awe. And scientists are asking, why awe? And it can be considered from an evolutionary view. Why is it part of our species' repertoire during 7 million years of evolution? Well, one answer is that it binds us to the social collective, improving our odds of survival. We may have experienced awe in the incredible snowstorm we just experienced. I was here on the 26th when it started snowing, and when I came out, my car was covered with 9 inches of snow. It was just amazing. We said, I think we should cancel the 11 o'clock service. So we can experience awe. I think maybe you've seen someone a mother in a restaurant, you know, sensitively taking care of her child. You can experience awe just seeing a simple act of kindness. Most recently, I experienced the awe of prayer. On Wednesday around noon, I was texted by one of our members that one of our long-term members was going to undergo emergency surgery for a life-threatening condition. And so I asked when the surgery would be and found out it would just happen in a few hours. So I called about 7 people I knew who knew this individual, and so that we could all hold the high watch during her surgery. And around 3:45, I received the word the surgeon had said the operation was very successful and they had removed a stone. And so it was exhilarating news. There's such an awesome feeling in being enlisted in prayer. I don't know about you, but I love it. And especially for someone in acute need. And it's not only gratifying to pray for a person with a condition, but to also pray for the surgeons and the nurses who are attending that person through their surgery. And it's what we do, as Suzanne explained, that's what we do here. It's one of the things we do best at Center for Spiritual Living. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote extensively about prayer and spiritual mind treatment. And so what's the basis for prayer even working? Well, one is that we're surrounded by an infinite intelligence that reacts to our thought, responds to it. And the experience of awe tunes us into that intelligence that's beyond human comprehension. It's the first cause of everything. And at a level of our existence, we understand and know that this intelligence, that whatever intelligence we possess is some degree of that infinite intelligence. It's within us and we can access it. And as Ernest wrote, cause and effect are one thing. So prayer is always its own answer. So just a quick story on the light side. There were 4 Methodist ministers who liked to get together, but they were constantly having these theological arguments. And it was always 3 agreeing against the 4th. And one day, the odd minister out, let's call him George, became fed up, and he decided to appeal to a higher authority. So he said, "Oh, God, I know I'm right and they're wrong. Give me a sign to prove it to them." And as soon as he finished his prayer, a storm cloud rolled up against the perfect blue sky and rested above the group. "You see," George said to the other ministers, "a sign from God." And the others wouldn't accept it, arguing storm clouds often formed on hot days. So the minister prayed again, "God, this time I need a bigger sign. I need a bigger sign to show that I am right and they are wrong." So this time 4 storm clouds formed and a bolt of lightning struck a nearby tree. And George said, "Well, I told you." His friends still refused to accept his case. And a 3rd time, Reverend George began to pray, "Oh, God." But before he got the words out, the sky turned pitch black, the earth shook, and a deep voice said, "He's right." George put his hands on his hips. He turned to the others and he said, "Well?" "So," shrugged one of the other ministers, "now it's 3-2. Well, doesn't that sound familiar? Often prayer is used as a way of showing that we have God on our side. There was a brilliant Simpson episode where Homer was being chased by a runaway rhinoceros, and facing near certain death, he cried out, "Jesus, Allah, Buddha, I love you all." Anyway, that's called hedging your bets. Some will use prayer as a way of manipulating others by claiming a divine advantage or a blessing. Both sides in a basketball game will pray before the game. Do they pray they'll play their best, or do they pray that by some miracle one of the key players on the other team will trip and break a leg? It's no accident that sometimes prayer is regarded as a way for an external force to change our life situations, sort of like that Jim Carrey movie, Bruce Almighty, where God is sitting by his email and on a good day replies yes to all, and on a bad day, no to all. So I want to explore with you the awesome power of prayer. Our founder developed a form of affirmative prayer called treatment, or spiritual mind treatment. And the very first step of it is getting into a state of awe, a state of recognition of the infinite power around us, state of recognition of the beauty of Mount Rainier, the beauty of everything in our environment, and knowing that there is this power and presence that we can turn to and that we are part of, which is the second step, knowing that we're one with it. It's the idea that the universe is one system, not two. It's only one. And Ernest Holmes called God the thing called life that's colorful and responsive to whoever wants to commune with it. We're rooted in that one. I used, in my foundations class, I was trying to explain how prayer works, and we had a potted plant in the classroom. So if you could imagine this potted plant, and I used to say, Well, what if Matthew was praying and he wanted to have a potted plant just like this one, and then Suzanne wanted to have the same plant? What about her? How could this type of ask and you will receive prayer work in a world of interconnected parts? What sort of God would save one person and not another, prosper one and not another, and quite simply a prejudiced God, a God that would be worthy of only being abandoned? So what sort of theology would claim that those who are more pious are more likely to find blessing? Or in the funeral Matthew and I attended, if you're pious, you'll get into heaven, but you'll be escorted there. Right. So what's the purpose of prayer? Well, it depends on the kind of God you believe in. I like a mystic God that's experienced within each one of us, beyond any of the sum of its parts, because it connects all the parts and has more wisdom than just to be a Santa Claus. Knows exactly what we need even before we ask. And then it just clicked that I can't teach you about prayer. You really have to experience it. The oneness of all events. And you know what prayer is when you can detach from the outcome and live into your true life, which can never be affected by someone criticizing or even praising you. It can't be hurt by not receiving a plant that you were seeking. All prayers probably have some effect, but some prayers have a complete effect. So why affirmative prayer treatment? If prayer is answered at all, then all prayers ought to be answered. And there's no God that knows one race or creed or person better than another. Jesus said that when we pray, we are to believe that we will receive and we shall receive. So we have to believe there is a power greater than we are, whether we call it spirit, God, divine principle, Mother Earth, or infinite intelligence. We are surrounded by this higher consciousness, this presence. And it's creative, and it acts on our own thought. And we get to experience what we affirm in prayer. And it can be very simple. I just know that there's an infinite power, and I'm one with it, and I know this about whatever it is I want to know. I know that this surgery is happening, and it is happening for my good, and it all comes out okay. In other words, we talk about knowing the truth, and Suzanne gave a really wonderful opening prayer in which she described that consciousness. That's what we are seeking to accomplish, because we are just thinking centers in a universal mind that reacts to our affirmation and acceptance of it. Ernst Holmes said prayer works because there's a power that responds to us creatively and mathematically. So we believe that heaven is now, God is now. There will never be another day better than this one. Some people pray better than others because they have a greater consciousness. The inner feeling and acceptance of a person is their consciousness. It's a person's use of belief to the level of their understanding. There's Japanese research that was done by Masaru Emoto, who showed that bodies of water can be affected by human consciousness. And he did experiments on polluted water, which were then prayed over with words like love and gratitude. And it showed huge changes in the crystalline structure and patterns of water molecules. The water was effectively healed by human thought. So if you consider that the human body, the bulk of it, is water, then we have enormous capacity for healing right here within us. whether you believe the research or not, at least consider as co-creators, we do not yet know the full extent of our powers. And prayer is everything. It's what we do on Sunday and what we do on Monday. It's life. It's an inner journey. It's silence. It's oneness with nature. It's protest and passion. It's everything, like giving and receiving. Who could say when you're praying and when you're not? Prayer is powerful. And prayer is powerful because of the God that resides within you, that enables you to be larger than any life situations. So if we were to go back to the origins of prayer, the Christian idea of prayer was inherited from the Hebrew culture. And in it, prayer was very precious and was offered only by a few in the most special of places, in the Holy of Holies, which was an elaborate cubic temple, ornate, designed specifically for prayer. It contained the wisdoms and the secrets of the tradition, and the rabbi alone could enter the Holy of Holies once a year. And when he did, he would say prayers surrounded by the Ark of the Covenant. Now, when John's gospel declared that the Word of God became flesh and tabernacled amongst the people, John was describing something revolutionary. He was telling us that this Holy of Holies now resides within us. There's a space in every one of you that is the Holy of Holies. And life is the process of searching and going deeper into this place, this realm, this quiet center. And the revolution is that you have access to the Holy of Holies anytime you want. You don't need someone else to go there for you because you can go there yourself. There's a beautiful story that comes out of the Hindu tradition, and it's called the parable of the two birds. Sitting on one tree, a tree full of fruit, are two birds. And one bird is sitting way up at the top of the tree, just watching in a state of bliss. And the other bird is lower down on the tree, eating the fruit, and sometimes eating sweet fruit, and sometimes eating tart fruit, but eating nevertheless. And this is the bird that eats, loves, fears, flies, and fights. And the first bird's job is simply to watch the bird of appetite. This one just watches without judgment everything that comes and goes all around it. So it's a parable about our two natures. One nature is the watcher that sees everything and is undisturbed by any of it, unmoved by the patterns of life, at peace with the self and the world. And the other nature feels grief and joy intermittently, experiences pain and pleasure, gets lost, seeks answers. So one way to understand prayer within is that within each one of us, it's as if there were two birds. The two birds resonate with the two birds in the parable. One is the watcher, just taking it all in. And then there's the one that moves with the ebb and flow of life. I've never been one to hold my hands together when I pray, but the thought occurred to me that the hands together are the two birds. Two hands coming together. Prayer is the dialogue that takes place between the one who experiences and the one who simply watches. So consider the hands as a symbol of the harmony you can experience within in the midst of turmoil and confusion. I recently learned about a woman named Mary who fought a long, hard battle with cancer. And over the past 10 years, she has had multiple surgeries, some due to the choices she made and some due to the progression of a terrible disease. And her biggest sorrow these days is her perception that her children do not care enough for her, they don't visit her enough, and that they're not able to support her as she's now facing a terminal illness. And Mary herself has her own ministry of prayer for other people. She knits day and night for other people. When she hears that a baby is being born, she knits a baby blanket. And when she hears about a young mother running away from an abusive relationship, she knits a scarf for her. She really loves to knit what she calls prayer shawls. And prayer shawls are knit for people in need. And the knitter, Mary in this situation, knits the shawls while praying for them. It's a gift of hope and protection against loneliness. So from her bed in the nursing home, Mary has reached out to many people in trouble. And when she was knitting a shawl, she's making a velvet bridge between herself and a stranger. And yet she told her chaplain recently, I know that I need to let go, but I don't think I'm ready. I don't think what's holding me back from letting this resentment go so I can move on with my life. I think that's what it is. I've got some resentment. So she shared her belief that her children were not there for her in the way she wanted. And the chaplain talked to her about the work of her hands that had knitted so many things for so many people, about the work of dropping anger by letting go of resentment. And it felt to Mary that letting go, opening her hands, palms down, dropping off this resentment would be too hard, too risky. And then in a moment of inspiration, she realized that instead of letting go, she could just let be. The Polish poet, Czesław Miłosz, wrote on prayer, he said this, "You ask me how to pray. All I know is that prayer constructs a velvet bridge, and walking on it, we are aloft as if on a springboard above landscapes the color of ripe gold, transformed by the magic of stopping the sun." When Mary and her chaplain prayed, they created a velvet bridge. And for that brief moment, it did seem like time stopped. And her chaplain persuaded her to be kind to herself and knit herself a prayer shawl. A bridge was made, in the words of Miłosz, that led to the shore of reversal, where everything is the opposite and the word is. It unveils a meaning that we hardly envisioned. Prayer is a word for taking the time to focus on what and who is most important in our lives. The most common prayer in every religious tradition is, "Help me. This is my reality and I need help." And another most common prayer is, "Thank you." How we direct our prayer and how we have these conversations is so important. Lynn McTaggart, who wrote The Intention Experiment, enlisted thousands of participants around the world in a series of scientific experiments to determine if sending thoughts of peace would lower violence. A team of physicists and psychologists from the University of Arizona, Pennsylvania, Princeton, University of California worked with her to design this experiment. And they started with Sri Lanka, which has suffered violent civil war for over a quarter of a century. And participants came to the website at the same time each day, and there were 12,000 participants in 65 countries. And as a result, violence levels fell dramatically. The death rate fell by 74% and injuries by 48%. Those who participated in the experiment wrote that they themselves became more peaceful during the week of vigil. This experiment offers some scientific demonstration that collective thought has the power to change the world. So my prayer for you is you might have a deeper prayer life, one that exists within, because what resides within you is nothing less than a tabernacle of God, a mansion within the miraculous mansion of secrets and divine mysteries. God bless you. Thank you. So here's that prayer, I'm so grateful, by Karen Drucker.
Again, sing along today. Use your voices and your hearts. You can even close your eyes and sing. Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. 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 Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. 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 Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. 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 I'm so grateful.
So it's time for our offering, and we'd like to say the blessing that's in your program. And who's taking up the collection today? Okay, thank you. So together we say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And so it is. For those of you who are watching at home, you can go to our website, you're on our website. You can go to our PayPal button and give. So thank you very much for your gifts of support. You just heard Remember Thou, O Man by Thomas Ravenscroft, arranged by Dimitri Baudelis and played by Bienvenido. What a beautiful piece of music. And so now we'll have our healing prayer by Suzanne Fraser Brown.
Once again, if you choose to close your eyes and go to that spot within you where the spark of the divine exists, always ignited, always available. And know that that place of spark, of creation, of, once again, that deep knowing that all is truly well. That it's true of you, it's true of the person sitting next to you, it's true of your neighbor, it's true of every person you love, it's true of every person you'll never meet. And that spark is a place where all reality goes forward. So if you have an issue, whatever it is, tiny, big, celebratory, challenging, healing originates from that place, because that's the place inside of each one of us where spirit dwells. It's available to us at all times. And because it's available to us, it's available for us to give away. This beautiful gift of healing is made available to us by this mystical, wonderful spirit. And so just as I know that that is true about me, that perfect healing exists within me, I know that about each one of you. And I'm knowing that right now about our dear friend who had this emergency surgery this week, that healing is taking place within her, has taken place within her, and will continue to take place within herself, just as I know it takes place within each one of us here. This beautiful gift of healing, that beautiful gift of knowing the truth about each cell in our bodies, that we may not know how exactly it works, but we know that it does, because healing occurs, physical, emotional. Healing occurs as we believe it. So I just say, I'm grateful for this knowing. I'm grateful for knowing that about each one of you. And I just let it go and know it's true. And I say, thank you, God. And so it is.
So our closing song is Everything is Holy Now. And Stephen, come see me after the service. I'm sorry I had to ask you this way, but I want to talk to you about an opportunity that's come up. Okay, so we're going to do one of Terry's favorite songs, Everything is Holy Now. I put the words in your program because I think that's the idea of this Holy of Holies being available to us everywhere. And so if you'd like to sing along, the words are there for you.
Play it with me. When I was a boy, each week, Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word, consecrate the holy bread. Everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. I remember feeling sad that miracles don't happen still. But now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, an even better magic trick to than anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles. Show me where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips. But now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. Used to be a world half there, heaven second rate, hand me down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Read the questioning child's face, say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament, I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scrape of sugar. Made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then, 'cause everything is holy now. 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 Everything is holy
So thank you for being with us, whether you're online or in person. We'll see you next week. God bless you all, and have a great week.